Hello and welcome to Västra Hamnen Corporate Finance. Today's session we will focus on CHOSA Oncology, a Danish company listed on the Spotlight stock market in Sweden. The company develops a drug response predictor, Platin DRP, which is designed to identify which cancer patients are most likely to benefit from platinum-based chemotherapy. Now, CHOSA is exercising its TO2 warrants. It starts at July the 1st and goes on to the 14th of July. And holders of the warrant can subscribe at 0.78 SEK per share. And in connection with this, we will discuss how CHOSA creates value for patients and for its shareholders. And I'm very pleased to be joined by the company's Chief Commercial Officer, co-founder, and board member, Klaus Frisenberg Pedersen. Very much welcome.
Thank you, Martin, and thank you for inviting me over here to Malmö and to Västra Hamnen Corporate Finance. I'm looking forward to give a brief update on CHOSA and what we are doing.
You've accomplished some things this year. So, but let's start with the benefit. What does CHOSA bring to patients?
Yeah, what CHOSA is really about is precision medicine within the oncology sphere. So we are able to detect the patients that will benefit from platinum treatment and those that won't. Platinum has been around for many years, and it's very effective. That's why it's still being used, although it also has some serious side effects. So what we have been doing is we have, through some machine learning and AI-driven algorithms, we have identified the 205 genes that are critical in detecting whether a patient is resistant or sensitive to platinum. And then we give a score from 0 to 100. So if you are on the high, then you are very sensitive. You should have the chemo treatment. If you are low, the doctor should look for something else.
So in this space, how many patients could you realistically address?
So at CHOSA right now, we are focusing mostly on lung and breast cancer. Our prediction is what we call tumor agnostic, so it can also be used elsewhere. But in order to have a focus on our activities, we are focusing on lung and on breast. In lung cancer, we have around 2.5 million new patients every year.
Globally,
yeah. And around half of them will sometime during their journey as a cancer patient be treated with platinum. So that makes it more than 1 million patients that are eligible for chemotherapy. If we look at US alone, which is probably where we have the largest and biggest payment willingness, we have around 250,000 cancer patients within the lung a year, making it 125,000 patients that are actually receiving chemotherapy. In breast, we also have a similar population, 2.5 million globally, and roughly we have the same numbers of patients that are being treated in the US and in Europe, where we have the biggest payment willingness, the same number of patients as for lung.
Okay. But you say that platinum-based chemotherapy is established now, is perhaps the standard treatment. There are different strategies evolving now with immunotherapy and so on. How does CHOSA position itself within this space?
Thank you for asking that question, because we actually see a very promising future. Some some of the key opinion leaders, even those that we are working with, they say they love chemo-free. So they would like to avoid treating patients with chemotherapy. But the next sentence they say is, we also know that that's not going to happen in the foreseeable future. So right now we have a big, like the standard treatment for many cancer patients and also in lung and in breast. That's immune therapy, PD-L1 treatment, together with chemotherapy. So that's currently what is being used to the biggest extent out at the hospitals. But we also see the next generation of drugs. So that is what we call bispecific antibodies. So they are actually adding a new protein to the treatment or to the drug, and there they are also including chemotherapy. And we believe that together with our biomarker, our predictor, we can actually predict the synergy between chemo and these new bispecific antibodies, as well as we can do it for the PD-L1s in combination with chemotherapy. And then, just as a side note, this morning I was one of my colleagues. He drew my attention that some of the very precision medicines in breast cancers, EGFs, they are actually now also being given in combination with platinum, meaning that our relevance in the breast cancer space is actually increasing even further.
So your DRP is personalizing cancer treatment even further.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly, and it will be as long as I can see into the future, our DRP will be relevant for the patients, and it will also be relevant for the pharma companies, because it's a way of differentiating their product offerings. So that's why one of our go-to-market strategies is also to focus on pharma companies that we would like to make some co-developments with.
Yeah. Let's come back to
Yeah.
that in a moment. But and now let's talk about the latest developments.
Yeah.
For those who haven't followed CHOSA for a while, could you just recap what's happened in 2026?
Yeah, a lot of things has happened. To give a few key points, then I think it was a very strong support for our solution that we managed to sign an agreement with Mount Sinai in New York, one of the biggest and most renowned hospitals in the US, where we will do a study on the combination treatment of PD-L1 and chemotherapy. And that's a study we will start out in a retrospective, meaning we will look at previous patients, but they have so big expectations for our collaboration. So we are already talking about making it into a hybrid study. So we will turn it in automatically into also a prospective study where we are actually evaluating current patients. So that was one thing. We are still we are waiting for the patient biopsies that we will do the retrospective analysis of. They should be in here within the very near future, and then we will have the readout from that study during the second half of 26, which we are looking very much forward to.
Oh.
So that was one point. A second point, it was end of March. We were invited to do a presentation of our Splendor study that we did together with the Swiss research organization ETOP. We did it last autumn, and we came out with some very, very strong data.
That's in lung cancer.
In lung cancer,
Yeah,
thank
yeah,
you.
yeah.
In lung cancer, so we came up, we had a population that we segmented into the top 50 and the bottom 50. And on average for all the patients in the cohort, they had an overall survival of 8 months. And then when we did our separation, Then the low responders, they came out with a 5-month overall survival, and the top responders, those that we predicted being very sensitive or sensitive to chemo, they came out with a 17-month overall survival. So 1 year in additional life expectancy, or in a realized life from these patients. A very significant result. As a side note again, you will get new drugs approved that can show a segmentation of 2 months. Here we have 12 months, so we think this is really important, and it also generated a lot of focus and interest during the European Lung Cancer Conference here in March. So that was very, very positive. And then the third point that I want to mention from 2026 so far is only 3 weeks ago, we were invited to do some presentations at ASCO, the biggest global cancer conference. More than 40,000 oncologists from all over the world, they gather in Chicago. And here we did a presentation of the Splendor study, but in nanostring, based on the nanostring technology. So initially we did it on Affymetrix, which was the technology platform that we've been working with for the last 5 years, or since we started. And we have an interest in widening the technology platforms that we work with.
Please
Yeah,
elaborate. What the difference between nanostring and Affymetrix?
A brief introduction is that when we do the Affymetrix, we do a full transcriptomic analysis of the full genome. It's quite complex. It's very detailed and good and strong and robust, but it's also quite complex. With the nanostring, we are only focusing on the 205 genes that we have identified. It makes it faster, and it actually also makes it cheaper, which is of course always relevant. We want to get our DRP out to the public as quickly as possible, and we must say that price can also be a variation here. So that's why we were very happy to see equally strong prediction data on both Affymetrix and now on nanostring.
Okay. So what was the reception at ASCO?
I would say we have been attending ASCO for the last 5-6 years, and some years you have to kind of be very proactive to get some dialogues. Yeah. This year we had from both research institutions and from companies, we had more proactivity coming to us and wanting to listen to our results. So that was very positive.
Yeah. Returning back to the Mount Sinai collaboration, what are the goals in this collaboration? It was breast cancer.
No, lung cancer. Lung cancer, also Mount Sinai.
Okay, yeah. Lung cancer as well.
Yeah.
So when would you expect data? I think you mentioned it, but you could.
Yeah, we are expecting. So we need to have the data in, and Mount Sinai, they have been collaborating with a number of hospitals in the US. So they are collecting and they are making some quality assurance, and then they make what they call a curl. They make a small, tiny slice of the tumor, which they send over to us. So we should have it in the very near future. Then we will start our analysis, and then we will bring our prediction back to Mount Sinai, because we don't know. It's completely blinded from our side. So we send back the number between 0 and 100, indicating the likelihood of response, and then they unblind, and then they come with a verdict and do all the statistical analysis, and then they get back to us. So it might sound simple, but there is actually, in order to ensure the validity and the quality of the study, also from an academic perspective, I would say during second half of 26, we should be able to bring the data results.
And that would be the retrospective part of the.
And then the prospective, it of course if we are not able to predict anything, then we will not
No.
continue. But if they see a clinical benefit from using, so the doctors out in the clinic, they see, okay, I have a better advice or decision foundation when I have this analysis from CHOSA, then they will continue into a prospective setting.
So you've done 2 major studies now, the Mount Sinai collaboration and the Splendor recently.
Yeah.
How many studies do you need in order to get included in care guidelines and stuff like that?
That's a good question, and I wish I could give a specific answer. A couple of years ago, we did some adjustments to our corporate strategy, and then at that time point we decided to say, okay, we need to focus on key opinion leaders. Key opinion leaders, they are the ones that actually decide the guidelines at the hospitals. So they are part of collaboration fora where they actually bring in experiences and data that they have been projects they have been involved in, and then they evaluate if it should become part of the guidelines. So that was one thing. So we want to get the right key opinion leaders, and we want to convince them. So that's what we are doing right now. So I think that will, when we get our data from the Mount Sinai study and they are positive, that will be a significant step towards coming into guidelines. Yeah. I will get back to what we can get out of the Mount Sinai data, but I think another, what was your question?
How many studies you need
in order to get into the guidelines?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, let's
or reach patients.
But because right now we can commercialize. We can sell it as a research use only device. We believe that when we will have our Mount Sinai data readout, then we will have a significant jump forward on our commercialization. And then it will not go directly into FDA approval, but we might be close to a clear approval, which means that we can actually, with clear laboratories, we can actually sell our DRP in a broader scale than what we can right now.
Yeah. So, I mean, now we're discussing how CHOSA is translating its latest development into shareholder value and go-to-market strategy, which is very interesting.
Yeah.
You're talking a lot about the US.
Yeah.
But there are also other regions and markets.
I think we last autumn we were invited to participate in a business competition in China, and which we entered, and we went to China, and we were strong, good, or lucky also to be part of the winning team over there, and it's actually opened up our eyes on China also. More than 2/3 of all new drug developments within the cancer space is actually being developed in China, and then it's being out-licensed to US for commercialization or broader commercialization. So we also have China on our radar. We believe that we can conduct some relevant and interesting studies out there, and we can also do collaboration with some of the developing pharma and biotech companies out there, which may lead to a out-licensing to US. So that could be, and that's the second part of our commercial go-to-market or commercialization strategy. So one is using our algorithm as a diagnostic test. Another one is, an alternative one is to become a companion diagnostic, so linked to a specific drug. It could be a PD-L1 immune therapy drug, where we can be a significant differentiator, bringing the product ahead of everybody else. It could also be a companion diagnostic with some of the upcoming bispecific antibodies. So we are having ongoing dialogue with many interesting parties also in China.
Okay, interesting. And I mean, the focus is, the commercial focus is still the US.
Yeah.
I mean, you mentioned 125,000 possible patients in lung cancer.
Yeah.
Could you just elaborate on the difference between? I mean, what could that group of patients mean? If
we are getting into the guidelines, then basically all of them will be treated with chemo, and all of them would also be part of a CHOSA DRP test. So that could be 100,000 plus patients that would have this test, and we will sell it for $3,000 to $4,000 and we will have a margin of between $1,500 and $2,000 per test, and then it's a matter of math, but adding 100,000 times $2,000 in margin, that's a quite attractive number. I cannot calculate all the zeros, but it's very attractive.
Yeah. And another perspective of it is that the total cost of cancer treatment is far bigger.
Very far bigger, yeah, that's right. Thanks for bringing that to my attention, because our test, $3,000 to $4,000, but it's actually a test that will decide whether you should or should not enter into a treatment that costs $120,000 to $200,000 per patient. So it's a marginal cost, but with a huge impact on the decision of treatment with very expensive drugs.
Yeah. So if we look ahead, which are the most three? If you could point out three milestones that would be the most value driving in the coming 12 months.
Yeah, I cannot see 12 months ahead, but I think there's definitely our readout from the Mount Sinai study. First, that's one, and then the second is, if it's positive, then we will start with the prospective. That is also a significant value driver, and then we have dialogues with many significant actors in the cancer ecosystem. So I say ecosystem because that could be drug development, that could be hospital, that could be diagnostic. But we have, and I think when we are signing an agreement with one of these partners, then that would also have a significant impact on our share price.
Yeah. See, and to get there, you need resources.
Yeah.
So what does this particular warrant exercise play in your financial planning?
So right now we have this upcoming warrant exercise. We have another one in November of more or less equal size, and with our current budgets, we are assuming a 20% utilization of these warrants, and that, together with what we already have in cash position, that will bring us into Q2 next year. We hope, and also knock on wood, expect a higher utilization, and that will of course be translated into an increased runway, but we will also increase the number of activities. As I have explained here, we have a lot of opportunities for value creating activities coming our way, and we would like to be able to say yes to more of them.
Okay.
So that's so increased activity and also increased runway.
Yeah, sounds good. So, well, let's end there. It will certainly be interesting to follow CHOSA's news flow in the near term and midterm as well. Thank you very much, Klaus, for coming here.
Thank you, Martin, for giving me the opportunity. Thank you.
And thank you for watching, and see you later.